Number 1, dimming. Color shift, right? So lowest power, color shift. Freaking awesome. A little dark in this angle, so we'll see how much brighter. And frankly, that is a lot brighter than it's ever been in here. So much better light situation. Shifting to red all around, perfect. Shifting back to white, perfect. All from here. Currently at 45 watts. Feeling pretty good about that. All right, so we'll do a quick little breakdown of the light bars here. Just on my tailgate, I'll go through the components and then just kind of how I put it together. I do think that I'm modifying it a little bit from the original way I did it, but more to just make it stronger and kind of some aspects I don't feel were necessary, but we'll go through it. We'll go through it. So I'll show you what that kind of looks like. Cool. Okay, so just to kind of get through everything here. So this is essentially the finished product. Again, not exactly the finest work, but I just wanted to kind of keep those cables clean. I did put connectors just to, honestly, just if I ever needed to work on it, replace it, I would have to do that. But considering that I have double-sided the back of these with some double-sided tape, not exactly an easy thing, but if I do need to detach it, remove it or whatever else and do something with it or replace it or fix it later, then that's that. I have an idea with the butyl tape stuff, just to kind of, my fear is this getting pulled out, yanked out, so maybe this can kind of help stick things down. We have our channels, so this is actually going to be what is obviously housing the LEDs. We'll go through this here in a bit, but basically these guys here are tall enough, I think like 3/4 inch. I think it's in millimeters though. Height-wise, I think 18 millimeters or something like that. But basically the height is to clear the connectors. So I did this because I'm not a soldering guy, so I use these connectors for that. So these guys are basically going to help clear, or the height of the channel is going to clear that. The original ones that I got actually were a lot lower, so that kind of messed that up. This here is just essentially like a soft white, or I don't know what to call it, but this is necessary from a diffusion perspective. So when you have LEDs and you have the individual lights, like these guys here, when you have those individual lights across, this one is actually diffused a little bit as well, but you can see where those light points are, and I don't like that. There's a whole story behind that with my brother as well. But basically, when you diffuse it, it creates that softer light across the light bar. So that's what allows that kind of clarity instead of having to see each individual light. Again, the connectors, these guys here are just what comes with the channels, and to fit the 4 cables that I'm going to need to fit through 16 gauge, I just need to drill that out to make it a little bit bigger. So we'll do that. Again, I just use this kind of stuff to splice the cables together. Hopefully I don't run out. And then of course the LEDs themselves. Now if we do look at these LEDs, so in here there's, how many feet is this? So this is, don't remember, but this was 21.95, something like that. And that gave me 5 plus this little bit. And again, I'm kind of changing a few things, but I'll show you what we'll kind of go through cutting that. And then these connectors, again, I don't know if it's necessarily, but I like having the connection there. And honestly, that's it. And then shrink tube for that side, for all that stuff there. So we'll go through connecting it so you can see what that actually looks like, and we'll go from there. And so there's that. I'm gonna take these guys out of here so you can get a visual. People online complained about this looking orange, but it's red enough for me when I'm in the dark and the light wise, so it's not to me really orange as much as it is red. So just take that for what you will, but red, white. Okay, this guy. So I just cut those off, don't need that. This is going to be the end, and I just need to size it out for here. Now, so the difference, this is for like a DC connection here, but if you wanted to do that, I guess, but that's not what we're doing. And same thing on this one. We're going to just cut that end off there. Don't need that. So this specific version, and I'll, you know, do all the linking in the description and such. So this specific version is actually the waterproof rated stuff. So you actually have to kind of get through this silicone here when we're starting to put the connectors on and stuff. So we'll go into that. It's not too hard. There's the copper contacts there for the light. But yeah, so with this, I think when I did it, I really kind of just did this number. So the thing that I did initially with this on here was I went the length of it to the end here on the white, because I wanted the white to get to the very end, and then all the way on this side I need to have workspace here for the connectors, and with the two in place, these connectors do fit singly here, and this is the part that I wish I kind of had a different method for, but this is fine, it works for now. So here, instead of going, what I want to do differently is I want to go to the very end with both colors. But then here, when I get to the workspace area, the red's not as important at night to be full bar across, in my opinion. So if I go full size here, all the way to the end, and then on this side, I stop the red here, and I get the white to here, it's only one span. It's only one span between these coppers. And yeah, I'll have less, or I'll have more red really than what was left before, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. So I think that's the difference, is I'm gonna go to the very end, but I'm gonna cut this here while I cut the white up to here, so I can get further down. So that is the only real difference that I want to do. So with these two and the channel size that I have here, it allows me to get both colors. Again, the red will be up to here and the white will be up to here. Am I getting that on the film? Yeah, so red is here, white is here. And again, this LED size is I think 8 millimeters, and this is 16 millimeters back and back behind it. And then so that gives me room to put both of these in play. They almost snap right into play there. And then again, when we're talking about light and diffusion, it doesn't really matter which side is going on. You don't have both on at the same time or anything like that. It's just, that's just the way it is. So that's what we'll do first, is we're gonna cut this guy right here. And because I wanna have as much working room here, I usually cut this a little further in the copper, because I don't need this other side. So I just kind of get, and we'll see if we're getting that, yeah. So I'm cutting it right there with that one. And I don't know if I got that right, but let's see. Yeah, so that's the red. And again, red is typically for night, just to kind of have stuff open. You're not really looking for super clarity visibility. You're just trying to keep the bugs away and still have something lit up. And then so with the clear one, we're gonna go same length on that end, and then, but this one we're gonna go up to here. And that gives us enough room for a connector. That gives us enough to run the line around that connector on this side. And yeah, let's cut that guy since we're here. Make sure I don't accidentally cut that side. And that's it. So I'm not gonna put anything in here just yet. I'm gonna put the connectors on so we can see what that looks like. And then, yeah, let's see what that looks like. Okay, so pretty simple with the razor blade. Again, not too worried about this side here. On this side, right, just essentially grab this, get the copper, go straight down, and then just try that again, straight down, and I just scrape the silicone off of it. And it just, that kind of gets that copper exposed. That's all I need to get the connector on there. Okay, so we'll do that for that one. And then we'll do it for the red here. So this is the waterproofing side of it. But for me, I just need to expose the copper so I can get my connector on there. So pretty simple connector here. Gotta find my proper screwdriver. It's the one that came with the connector. Again, I don't know if this is the best way, but it's the way I'm using it. Open that guy up, pop that in there. Oops, wrong side. So one side is open to receive the 8mm. Let's see if we got that. Okay, one side is open like that to receive the 8mm. Don't lose screws. Pop this guy right into there. And cinch that down. Okay, so that gives us our connection in there. And again, that provides this all the way across to almost the whole way across. Again, I'm trying to house these guys inside the channel. So we're gonna leave this there, and you can kind of, no, it just sits under there. So, but see how we have minimal room. We have minimal room to get by. So that's why I need to have the red, the second light, back further. So I can just, all I have to do is then run the lines past it. Basically, we're gonna have the clear here. And actually I have more confidence now than I did when I was initially doing these. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the backing off of here and put this all the way to the end here. And actually I gave it a little bit, about just a little bit, because there's a little cap here that I want to put on. But I'm going to, on the channel face, I'm actually bracing it here and then just snapping it in just to get as close to that wall as possible, since it's a really close fit with the 8mm LEDs fitting in a 16mm channel. So that's kind of what I'm doing to get that in there. Here we go. Got a little outside of, got a little further back than I wanted. And right when I get to the end there, I just kind of rip it off. So there's trash. And again, let's get this connector on here first. That's good. Okay. So again, this time we're going to pop this guy right up there next to it. So, all right, so that's what we're playing with. And as you can see right here, there we go. So they just sit right next to each other in that 16mm channel, and then the 8mm each. Okay. Now we go to doing this. And this is the testing my abilities here. So again, I take this and I drill it out with a, pretty sure I used a 5/16 here. Vice definitely helped. Okay, so in comparison, drilling it out, that versus that, and that's again to get the 4 cables that I need through it. Okay, so I'm using 16 gauge. Math-wise, there's a whole thing. The max that these guys can accept on these connectors are 16 gauge, so I just went with 16 gauge. So here, I'm going to get a little bit off of a stripped so I can get this here. So again, the red for me is going to be the 12 volt side. So that's what I'm going to connect into the 12 volt side here, right? We're going from 4 connections, 4 wires to 3. And the one that we're combining to get to the 3 is going to be the red. This one's going to be your power. This is going to be one color, and this is going to be the other color. And on the juice box, it's red. For me, I put red, yellow, black. And I think I basically did red, white, power, and then white, and then red on this guy. Is to connect the red, so we get our 12 volt all the way across to this. And then the black that I come off of from here is going to connect to the yellow on this guy. Black I come off of here is going to connect to the black here. So now we have these guys to work with, and let's get some of that exposed. So let's get these, the short to the yellow, right? So that's the yellow there. So this one's going to be pretty easy. In terms of my black, that's going to be my long black here. And this one's the real test here, is to do the 3. So let's get this guy. That works for me. Okay, so those are all together. Those are all together. And then we got your, to get that guy. All right, so I'm gonna heat shrink these guys, or shrink those guys down, get those connections made. And then I'm just going up to this point here, and I shrink tube it there so it's nice and closed off. Once I get this shrink wrapped, and then, or shrink tubed, and then these guys, we'll connect those guys up, we'll power it on just so we can see what it looks like, and then go from there. All right, so we got the shrink tube here to just make everything look really clean. All right, let's get that one. So now the goal is to get this back into here. Ooh, that's still warm. That fell. Where'd my, there we go. So, again, we have our larger diameter hole, black and red there, and then our red and black there. 12 volt labeled on the LED light is going to get the red, and then okay, and there's a nice, again, nice little audible snap here when you pop that underneath, just because of the wedge of here and this connector hitting under the lip. So that's kind of, I like that. And then 12 volts on this side for the clear. So we'll pop that guy in there. And there we go. So that is us in play. Everybody's nice and connected. We have light all the way across. Again, this part you're not going to get any red, but that's okay. You can adjust this bar center-wise to wherever you're placing it so that it makes sure it does that. But let's look at this, the existing connection here, so you guys can see what this looks like. There's tailgate, there's my red, there's my white. So we're good here in terms of making sure that the white is white and the red is red. And then again, you have your dimmer to, and we're in the light, so I don't know how much of this you're seeing, but we'll get that. So that one's good to go. Now, actually, let's do this. So in terms of the diffusion aspect of it, again, right? So in terms of diffusion, when you have your white, you can probably see, especially in a camera perspective, you can see all the rows of lights there. And that's the, you know, kind of thing when it comes to LEDs to try to minimize that you can actually see the bulbs as you go. So as you know, when I put this on, you'll notice that it diffuses that. You actually need to be up a little bit off of the light to actually get that diffusion piece, or effect, I guess. So if I do this, and we'll go and snap this guy on, sometimes it slides on okay, sometimes it doesn't. So I just snap it on sometimes and it works just fine. There we go, nice satisfying snap, snap, boom, again. So now we are diffused, so you don't see the actual light bulbs, but you do see obviously the light. There's actually a piece of plastic on here, probably giving it a little bit of a different view, but there we go. So yeah, so on the red, again, I've got about that much. That's just black, and that's okay. Again, the red is a little bit different use case anyways. It doesn't go all the way through, but then the white, you get much more of the light from end to end. And so if you just focus like this side as kind of the center from here to here, you should be fine. But that's pretty much it. And then I have this cap here to put on the back end on this side. If you're seeing that, yeah, there we go. So that'll cap that. Now, one of the things I think will be helpful, I think, is again that butyl tape to kind of lock those lines down so they don't move around a lot. That's kind of the big one, is where that's connected. But with the shrink wrap and then using the connector, it's like there's not a lot of stress right at that point on the other side where the cables are all connected, I don't think. But using something like this to silicone the end of it and kind of just a block of silicone in that whole channel, I think is a good way to protect it, to keep it locked in. I haven't really committed to doing it yet, but maybe I'll do it on this side once, just because I don't know how messy it's going to be, or what if I do need to get back into it or whatever else. But otherwise, that was a plan. I don't know. I can always use this for other stuff, so I'm not worried about it. And then when I get leftovers of these, like these small ones, I plan to make smaller bars. And I don't know how or what I'm going to use them for, but they might just be, you know, I don't need I can use a thinner gauge too, possibly. I might just do single color just because it's not really connected to the juice box in that sense, but maybe I can connect it to a USB plug or something like that, so that there's always that, or maybe something that with a battery pack that I can use. Just got to figure out what I can use it for, but I don't want to waste these. I think these are cool. I got the channels for it. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's how I put one of those together. That's basically kind of the whole walkthrough of putting that together. And I'm gonna do these 4 other ones, finish this batch off, and then that's it. All right, so forgot to show this. All right, so when it comes down to the LonePeak stuff, again, it's really this. When we did the red, yellow, and blue, or black, this is how I plugged it in. Just so you guys know, you can screw the way this mechanism works, you screw it all the way out, it opens up further going that way. You know, if you look down, you can kind of see it, but basically open that up completely. 16 gauge fits okay. I think they use 8 gauge here. That's what they said. But I just use 16 gauge. It stays pretty good with that, but just make sure you open that all the way up and then, you know, close it off afterwards. But yeah, so red, yellow, black. So this will be the tailgate, the first 3, the tent, the next 3. These ones will be awning, which will be my side doors. And then essentially that'll close up all of those guys. So again, for me, I only put about 6 inches of that here and here. So just to get that stuck somewhere, pretty permanent in that sense. Let me see if there's anything else, but you can see kind of that's the end result there. Again, that silicone, putting it into the ends, I think is a good way to kind of hold that cap together, hold the pieces together. I don't know if I really want to do it on this end anymore. The LED is waterproof, so I don't need to worry about waterproofing this piece. Would I run over it with a truck? No, would not. But they're going to be up here. Do they rotate? Nope, they sure don't. But if you put them in the spots that the original lights would be put into, then honestly, like where I've got them so far, lights up the LonePeak perfect. All right, so that is my officially my first DIY video. Hopefully it was helpful for anybody that's watching it. And if you have any questions, throw it in the comments. I'll do what I can to obviously respond to those. I think it's pretty simple. I did not find any other videos around this. You know, the amount of time it took here is probably 20 minutes, less than that for just one of those. And when I do it, I'm gonna do it in bulk. So I'm gonna cut it all first. I'm gonna do all the connectors first. You know, I'm just assembly line aspect of it. So it goes a lot faster when I do that. You have any questions? Throw it down. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully you guys get some nice light bars out of it. And if you have any, you know, throw over some other suggestions or whatever else that might be helpful with this kind of aspect. This might be my only DIY video, but this took a lot to kind of figure out exactly what I want. But that was actually the first time I went through with like everything planned a very specific way and executed the way I wanted to. Other ones was like rip it apart, put it together, things like that. Cool. See you on the next one.